every laugh, every smile, every hug, every kiss, every touch, every person in my life that I care about and love. But wait, maybe I'm getting too emotional. That's exactly what they say you ain't supposed to do. Suppress your feelings, never talk about your pain. Can't appreciate the sun without acknowledging it rains, right? That's right. So this a moment of clarity. And make sure you always protect your energy. You stay focused and your life gon' be lit. And you are now rocking with Celeste, the therapist. Let's go.
Hi, beautiful people. How are you? If you are watching me on the replay, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you. My name is Celeste. I'm a therapist from Boston, and I have been coming on video Monday through Friday for the last about 6 weeks, and I have somebody on that is doing something to empower other people. Today it's just going to be us. We're going to kind of talk about mental health. Today I want to talk about feelings, but I obviously will be also answering questions that you may have. So definitely feel free to ask a question, and I'll make sure to get to it. So one of the reasons why I decided to come on here on video is because I really wanted people to learn how to have, hey, Missy, I really wanted people to learn how to have new outlets. Hey, Gary. So I'm actually streaming on Periscope, Facebook, and YouTube. So I'm streaming on 3 different platforms. And if you're new here, my live streams have become podcasts. So I've been podcasting since 2018. So essentially I'm doing the same thing that I've already been doing, but I'm just bringing it live on camera to give people some outlets to kind of be able to like process, right? So I've been coming on video live and talking to people, and they're giving us this information. They're helping us kind of understand. I've had teachers on, I've had therapists, I've had people that talked about meditation, that talked about gaining clarity. There's so many different people that have come on to share with us things that we can do during this time to help us navigate. I understand that, no one's ever been in a pandemic, and it's very challenging, but I don't want people to get stuck to the point where they are struggling with getting up. I do want people to grab onto resources. I do want people to get what they need. Hey, Terrell, I do want people to get what they need during this time as much as possible, right? Because right now, this is our new norm. And because it's our new norm, I want us to work on kind of how do we flow in it and how do we like navigate in this new process. So today, so you can still ask your questions, but I just kind of wanted to kind of delve in about feelings and emotions, right? I really want people to kind of understand that. That's something that we didn't understand even before the pandemic started. Now, even more so, it's important for us to really think about this idea of feelings. And I want people to don't believe everything that you think, right? There's a lot of faulty thought patterns that are taking place right now that we may not understand. And it's really faulty, and it can get to us, right? And it can cause us to feel a certain way. And one thing that I know about feelings is that feelings change. Feelings don't stay the same. A lot of decisions we make or act on or are impulsive about is a direct link to our feelings, right? Because of how we feel. So I really want people to kind of challenge that feeling, because we can't change the fact that we feel a certain way, but we can absolutely be mindful and be able to look at our response to the feelings. A lot of times we don't look at the response, and we don't even look at the connection on how it works. So some of the feelings that may be coming up for you during this time: anger, anxiety, frustration, some paranoia. Are there any tips for finding therapists? I have struggled with. Okay, I'll answer that. Fear, frustration, paranoia, hopelessness, helplessness. These are very normal emotions, right? Given the fact of everything that's going on. And, a lot of us, we've never had space to be able to say how we feel. If you sad and you're not bleeding, it's like, why are you sad, right? And so some of us, we never had an outlet or a place that we were able to express how we feel. And so tapping into our feelings and emotions is something that is hard for us to do as adults. So really understanding that. Another thing I want you to understand is that like the feelings, you can also feel it in your body. So you may start to be feeling some muscle tension, some backache. I know when this first started, like I felt like my shoulders were raised high. Like I was really tight. I felt it as it was happening. So I did a lot more stretching, like in the moment. Now I'm a lot more relaxed. But as it was happening, as this transition to this new normalcy that we're dealing with was happening, I felt it all in my body. And a lot of times our body will have this response before logic starts to hit in. A lot of times when we get to, one of the things I like to tell y'all is like, know yourself, get to know yourself. When you know yourself, you'll start to understand how your body is responding to some of the things that you're struggling with. And I don't know if anybody if anybody can write in if they do recognize like there are some ways that their body has responded to what's happening, whether it's backache, whether it's spasms, chest pains, like your breathing looks different, right? A lot of times we don't even realize we're holding our breath. So your breathing could start looking differently. So there's many different things that can take place when it comes to the way that we're responding to the emotions that we're feeling, to the things that we're seeing. So it's important to really think about that. So one of the things that I like to do is, so we're talking about these feelings and these emotions and how they kind of show up and how like they're normal. But I want to give you some ways to think about like, how is it that I can deal with it? Like, what's the solution to being able to like manage all of these, like this flood of emotions that are coming up? So the first thing I want to say is to understand what you're feeling. Staying mindful and in tune to your emotions is going to be important. When you can stay in tune and mindful to your emotions, it doesn't feel like they just come out of nowhere and they're hitting you hard, right? So really trying to stay mindful, like what is it that I'm feeling? The next thing I want you to think about is building a support network. So someone that you can talk to that's healthy, even if it's an online community. And I think now, because of everything that's happening, there's a lot of safe, positive online communities that are taking place right now. Hey, AP. There's a lot of like safe places that you can go to and connect that are happening because that's the only way people are able to connect, right? So if you do find yourself in this space where you're struggling, I do want you to work on connecting with community because that's going to be important. We've talked a lot about like this social distancing thing that we're in, but we're really physically distanced from people. We can't physically be in their presence, but one trick of depression, or the thing about depression, it'll make you believe you're all alone and that like you have no one and no one cares. Like all of these things come in and like they're coming in stronger and harder more than ever if you are no longer able kind of to do the things that you used to do. So just kind of keep in mind, thank you with that. So that's number two. The next thing I want to say, so when it comes to these emotions that are flooding and coming in and like how you're feeling, thinking about when it's happening. So I like to tell people to kind of stay away from the news and social media. You'll be surprised. You can wake up with intention, have a mindfulness minute, like really set your tone right. You can get on social media, you can watch the news. And if you're not self-aware, what's going to end up happening is that you're going to respond to all of the negativity that's happening. So as the negativity is happening, your body is processing it and taking it in, and you may not even realize it, right? Before I went to bed the other night, I read about this doctor that committed suicide. And it was just sad. Like, it was just so sad. And one thing I try not to do is I try not to look at things before I go to bed. Like, I deal with trauma like a lot all day. Like, I'm a therapist, so I hear it. I stay away from the news. I don't even watch. I don't watch anything that's going to be sad, right? Like I just refuse to. So I don't watch anything that's going to be sad. So I try to be intentional about the things that I'm looking at, because I know like it affects me gravely. Like I know where my triggers are when it comes to that stuff. So I watched this. I mean, I see that, and it didn't even click. I didn't even click on me to like let me try to set the tone before I go to bed, right? Let me try to set the tone. What I'm going to answer the questions at the end. Okay. It didn't even dawn on me. And so I went to bed and I had this nightmare. I had this nightmare that people kind of needed me. I wasn't there. Like there were so many people suffering. And I know this, there are people suffering, right? But I say that because a lot of times when we're processing stuff or looking at stuff all day, you it may go into your sleep. You may find yourself struggling to sleep, find yourself having nightmares, having trying to like get to a settled place is going to be hard if I'm not like feeding my spirit, if I'm like watching junk, if I'm looking at junk, if I'm giving my body junk, if I'm not taking care of like myself, it's going to be hard for me to settle. And this can become a routine for us. We can like end up going through the motions of life this way right now because it's like, well, I don't have control over this virus, right? And so I want you to know, like, you do have control over your inner self. Like, we have control over what's happening inside. And I think it's important more than ever to work on that, because when you don't feel like you have control, that's not a good feeling to be in, to be walking through life and just going through the motions. So really being mindful of making sure you are paying attention to the things that you do have control over. So your sleep, you're trying to be mindful of like what kind of food you're intaking and moving your body. You know, those three things are within our control and they can really affect our mental status. And so because there's so much outside of us that is affecting our mental status, I think it's important for us to look at what we can do to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. That's going to be important. The next thing is kind of like if you have a higher power, like tap into that, utilize that as a way to like work on feeding your spirit, or even if it's meditation, right? I think that's going to be important to do, because sometimes we move away from it, right? We move away from the things that may have helped us in the past, because it feels like so much is going on. And so if you're looking for a starting point, like how do I start? Because you're right, Celeste, like I feel like I'm all over the place. Like first thing in the morning, kind of set your day with intention. Like don't grab social media, don't check your email. Like really set your day with intention, asking yourself like, what is it? What goal do I want to do today? Like, even if it's just, I want to take a shower and like do a meditation routine in the shower, or I want to make sure that I write like one page today to really like talk about how I'm feeling. Like the goal is to get it out, like to really get it out and process. When you have all this stuff taking place inside and you're not getting it out, it's just going to hold pockets in your body. It's just going to sit there. It's not going to go anywhere. And you keep holding on to it. Something else happened. It just piles up. It keeps piling up. And you find yourself feeling like you're going to crash or you're going to snap. And so instead of getting to that place, really working on allowing yourself to breathe and allowing yourself to like unravel and let it come out and let it flow, so that you're not just kind of holding on to pain. And the last thing I want to say about this idea of emotions and understanding yourself is that be kind and patient, have compassion. We're in the middle of a pandemic. There's a lot going on. But even with that being said, I think it's important for us to care for self, but do it with compassion, because you would definitely give that compassion to somebody else, to a friend. You would definitely do that. You would give it to someone else. So I really want you to make sure that you're doing it for yourself. So someone says, are there any tips for finding the right therapist? I have struggled with this. You know, that's complicated. That's hard. My first experience of getting a therapist, it was a great experience. And after that, I had a bad experience. I didn't realize how lucky I was to have that first experience until I had the bad experience. I just thought that's the way it worked. And I would say being consistent and persistent with the process. I think it's hard. You go in, they say try, give it a couple of times. You're kind of unleashing this stuff on someone and letting them know, and then it's like, it's not a good fit. It doesn't work out. It's hard to start all over. Like I agree, it's very hard to start all over. Or even if you had a good therapist and they left, like things change. We're human, and or insurance has changed. Like there's so many different factors. Is to kind of being patient with the process. And also, if you are somebody that's saying like, I can't afford therapy, there's no therapist that I've connected with, don't let that be a determining factor on you taking care of yourself. Like never let that be a determining factor of taking care of yourself. So really working on getting self-aware with yourself, understanding how you're feeling. I think these are important steps to take in the meantime while you are looking. So like kind of taking those steps. And also, prior to going into the next person, you can like interview them. Like you can ask them what their therapy style is. Like people do that with me all the time. And just asking these questions, and also being a part of the process. I think sometimes I always tell my clients, if this doesn't work, like let me know, like what's not working, what's working. Everybody's different. So definitely being okay when you do find a therapist, if things aren't working out, or if something you don't like the way something is, say it. Like I've had people say it to me. It doesn't work if we're not being honest about the process. So definitely kind of keeping that in mind. What would you suggest for someone new to find a virtual support system right now? You're welcome. In regards to finding a virtual support system, asking yourself like what kind of support you're looking for, like thinking about what kind of support system are you looking for, because there's so many different types out there right now. And then, as you are finding it, thinking about what my expectations of this system is going to be, because we may have these like high expectations and it don't work out. And we didn't realize that's why we're so like annoyed with it and not trying anything. Because I think it's important to definitely try, especially now because of how much we are physically distanced from one another. So we're trying to like figure out this new norm. So definitely thinking about my expectations of the support system, especially if like you struggle with anxiety or you're struggling with like starting over, starting new, because it's kind of like I'm always on camera. But for some people, like that's hard to be on camera. My son, like he has to do Zoom for his classroom. He's 9 and he hates it. So I had him turn off the camera. I told him you could turn off the camera. And so now he's able to be more relaxed. He does not like being on camera. And so thinking about checking in with yourself after the support system that you try out, right? That you're going to try out, and asking yourself, like, how does it feel? How are you feeling? Like, how did you like it? Like really challenging your thoughts and not allowing your thoughts to run rampant. A lot of times we have these thoughts that are taking place and they're just kind of making their own connections. They're just kind of going with the flow. They're just doing what it do. And they're having this whole world without our involvement. And making sure that you are not consistently distracting yourself from what's happening inside, right? I said this the other day, your outside has stopped and our internal self doesn't stop. It never stops until we take our last breath. That's when it stops. Until then, there's no pauses. There's no, like, it's not like the world stops, we can pause. So a lot of times it's easier, and I say easier, like in the moment, it's easier to distract ourselves with some mechanisms that may not be the best. It's easy to distract ourselves, but that process is still happening, right? So just kind of being mindful on how much you're distracting yourself. What are you utilizing? I think harm reduction is important. I like to tell people, I know a lot of people may use like substances to kind of distract themselves. And I know trying not to use substances on a regular basis when that's all you've been doing can be hard. And so I talk to people about like, instead of like, smoking in the middle of the day, like why not like take a walk in the middle of the day, like, and then smoke at the end of the day so you can like pull back a little bit so you're not completely relying on substances or food or relation like or shot like there's so many different uh, coping mechanisms that that we have relied on, and not we wouldn't have called it like negative. We would just be like, this is what gets me through my day, but it can't be the only thing that gets us through our day, right? So making sure that we're not relying on something else to help us heal, or to help us to get through. Like you got to feel the pain. Like, I wish that there was a way for us to if there was a way for me to shut off the negative noise and keep my authentic self, like sign me up ASAP. There's no way to do that. Like I've tried that. You can't shut off one part without shutting off the other part. And so keep that in mind as you are going through this like journey right now, is that, we have to feel pain. It's a part of the human experience. I just kind of accepted it. I said, this is what's going to happen. And I've accepted that like life is full of pain and I have to be a part of the process because I don't want the process to happen without me, right? I don't want that to happen without me. I've been staying in creation and study as much as possible. And I had started drinking a little, but I only it on the weekends and this one drink. Exactly. Yes, exactly. So, making sure that you're mindful, because when we're in the state that we're in now, it's easy to like be in the refrigerator every 5 minutes, right? It's easy to like do all of these things that is not allowing us to feel, because we just want to swallow our pain. We want to drown. We just want to like let it go away. And you can't, we can't. AP says creating helps: painting, coloring, arts, crafts, and music. And especially for people that are like creators, this is a really hard time for creators, and making sure that you work on kind of pivoting what you have been doing so that you can still allow, because some people, like, part of like that spiritual balance that you need is like walking in your purpose and in alignment. And if some people, like with artistry, any kind of like thing that has to do with the arts has been like their way of like feel like they're walking in that line, and not being able to do that can feel really hard. And so sometimes we have to mourn what we used to have, right? The life that we used to have. Like, it's okay to be sad about it. But then I have to think about, well, what can I do? Right. And I promise you, the more you start to like walk in that mindset, like, well, what can I do? How can I pivot this? Or how can I change the narrative? The thoughts start coming in and they start flowing. Right? Like they start coming in, they start flowing, and you'll start to like walk in that system. That's how it works. Hey, Black Irish, right? Like that's how it works when you are feeling not motivated, or you're feeling uninspired, and you stay in that and you say, I'm just waiting for the motivation to come. It's not going to just magically appear. We have to start doing the work. And so I guess I would challenge you, like, start doing the work by making it a part of your process. Like when you first wake up in the morning, if a day goes by and it doesn't work out, be like, you know what, today was a wash, but tomorrow's a new day, right? And just kind of working on resetting when things didn't go the way that you planned, or you had a harder day than you usually have. Like, give yourself some grace and remind yourself, like, tomorrow's a new day. I can do this again tomorrow. I can start over tomorrow. And I think when I set my tone like when I wake up, like, and I set my tone in the morning, it really helps me, like, it helps my day flow differently, right? When I set it in the morning, when I can start off on like a positive note, it really helps things like feel a little bit more stable. So really thinking about doing that. I teach people how to play drums. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Does anybody have any other questions? Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The goal is to just like create community, create space so we can share with each other, so we can learn from each other. You're welcome. So that we can learn from each other and work on getting through these moments, right? That's the goal, is to get through the moment and to be in the moment. Like I really want us to know like it's important and it's powerful to be in the moment and to not allow like the fear of the future or the sadness of the past to like stay in the way, because that's like where anxiety lies. So really thinking about that. It's rough being on the front line. Yes, you're still working, right? No more living in yesterday. That's new standard. I've started living my life. And yes, that's so good. I'm going to make today better than my yesterday, right? That's my motto. I'm going to make today better than my yesterday. And, whether we were talking about the pandemic or now, like no one knows what tomorrow holds, right? But I do know what I have right now. And I really want to make the best of the moments that I have. I think it's so important for me to do that. Hey, Liz. Hey, Celeste, that was today's journal entry from your journal. Are you living in the moment? Oh, that's so dope. Yeah. I always forget about the guided journal. I have a guided journal Liz got a long time ago when I first published it. And so a lot of times on Twitter, she will share some of the entries. And one of the entries in the journal is, are you living in the moment? Because it's all we have. And that really, that idea like warms my spirit. It settles me. It like alleviates the anxiety that I feel when I'm able to know like I'm living in the moment. It's important. Hey, Mike, every day brings challenges and opportunities. Yes. So like the challenges we know about so well, right? But I feel like the opportunities, like we don't really see the opportunities. And it's hard to see the opportunities if we're not intentional on like looking for them, or we're not intentionally like in it. So like one of the biggest things is gratitude. Looking at what is the little things that you're grateful for. There's so much that's going wrong, but asking yourself like what's going right. Like I ate today. Like I'm grateful that I had a plate to eat. Like really getting to the like basics. And when you can do that, you can start seeing the opportunities. Hey, Heart Doctor. Yes, it's been a minute since I journal. I know you keep showing up, but I'm just showing up now. Yes. Let them be your motivation. Yes. Tomorrow is not promised, so live every day as it should. Yes, absolutely. I agree with that. And for people where it feels like a foreign concept, really making sure that I used to say when I used to come on live on Periscope, I used to come on Periscope 5 days a week, actually, before my podcast. A lot of people in Periscope here, Black Irish, Liz, y'all know, the Heart Doctor. I was on Periscope all the time. And at the end of what I would say is like, if anything I ever say resonates for you, understand that you have the power to make the change, but you have to believe it today. And I would ask for the time, like, and I remember I would ask Liz, what? Here's Liz right here. I would say, Liz, like what time? Liz would tell me the time. And I would say, all right, it's 8:34. So 8:34, you can start making those changes today, right? I know, I love you guys too. I would say, like, what time is it? Like, you can start making those changes like right now. Like, I believe like it doesn't take a Monday, or it doesn't take a new month to start the changes. Like we can really start today. I have that journal too. I've been thinking about it lately. I didn't stick to it every day. The prompts are pretty thought. Oh, you have the journal too. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So they're thought provoking, right? Like that's the goal, is for them to elicit thought. Like that was my whole mindset behind doing it, because I wanted you to really shift the way you think about things. So that's good. Oh, you're from the Periscope days. Oh my gosh, it's like a reunion in here. Oh, you guys are gonna make me cry. Yep, you've been saying that for years now. I have been saying that. I feel y'all making me feel old. Yo, I have been saying that for years. And it's crazy because like as I say that out loud, yes, you have my journal too. As I say that out loud, I think about how my transition from like social media to podcasting to now doing this that I'm doing, how it happened, not because like when I got on YouTube or Periscope, I had this grandiose plan that I'm going to like be on podcasting and stuff like that. It kind of happened over time. It happened through me talking to you guys. Like the journal happened through me talking to people about writing how they're feeling, right? Asking people like, how are you feeling? Like those kind of things like helped me get to a space of like, let me just make a journal so people can know how to do this work, right? And understanding that like what I was saying was beneficial, but then I'm like, let me actually talk to other people that have gone through some things and have been sharing so that people can see like, yes, you can do it. So everything has like really embodied helping people get to the healing place through community. Like I think community is important. So like when quarantine happened and we had to be separated, like my like heart broke because so many people's like sense of community is no longer the way it looked like, and it's going to look differently. And so I don't want to forget about like, I don't want us to forget about our mental health. Like, our physical stuff, we can talk about like social distancing and staying 6 feet apart and washing our hands, not touching our face. But I don't want us to forget about the parts we can't see, because that's so important. That's so important. I mean, thank you. You're so kind. That's when your quote comes in about mourning the life you had. Yes. And so that's one of the things that's going to be important is this mourning process. Like it's okay to be sad. It's okay to like mourn the life that you had. And then it's like, what does my life look like now? Right. It looks completely different. And that's okay. And it's okay to say I'm not okay. So thank you guys so much. This was amazing as usual. You guys are awesome. We got people from the YouTube, from my Periscope family on here. That was so for people that may not have known in 2015 or 2015, I kind of started going on YouTube. 2016, I kind of started going on Periscope, and I would come on Monday to Friday at 12:45 and just talk about mental health. I would have these like issues we struggle with, and then I would like talk about solutions, and we would talk about mental health, and I would answer questions about mental health, and I would talk about relationships, and that's how the podcast was built, through me knowing that there was this need out there. So I said, let me put it and make it my own platform. Life is not that complicated. Live and let live. Have no expectations of people. Find your passion. Be open enough. Yes. Don't let people or things upset you, and stop having doubts. Yes. Easier said than done, Mike, but you're absolutely right. It's easier. That's easier said than done. So guys, don't forget really quick before we go, I have a free wellness will assessment that you can take. So sometimes we are going through life and we struggle with where to start, or how am I doing? And so I kind of go through these different areas of our lives in 10 minutes. It's a 10-minute video that I do where I kind of break it down and kind of help you understand how you can work on kind of labeling like, okay, what does my spiritual health look like? What does my emotional health look like? And get into a starting point to try to like create change within your life. Yes, I would listen to you at my desk. Yes, it was, yes, Jay. Okay, Jay, I remember. Yes, Jay. Yes. You're absolutely right. I would come on at 12:45 Eastern Standard Time. You don't miss that job. So I have that. That's important to really get to a starting point on where you want to start. So if you guys want to learn more about me, you can go to celestetherapist.com. My podcast is literally streaming everywhere. This is what it looks like, Celeste the Therapist. If you're somebody that wants to learn how to podcast, I actually created a checklist like you can download for free on my website, where you can, I kind of go through the steps that you can take to podcast, like how do you start? I also created a course. One of the things that I'm big on is like creating our own. Creating our own creating your own is so important. So, podcasting has like opened up a lot of like ideas and different things for me. So I really wanted to show people like it's possible for people that are someone that has like said, oh, I want a podcast. So you go to celestetherapist.com. You would listen to me sitting and yes, Black Irish, you've been around for a long time as well. So thank you guys so much. I love you. I'll be back tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys know you can find me literally on all social media platforms. All you got to do is search Celeste the Therapist and you will find me. I'm not going to put that up, Mike. That was an old joke. You can literally, find me everywhere. On social media. I'm on there all night. Hey, how are you? You can find me everywhere on social media. If you search Celeste the Therapist and celestetherapist.com, you can find the links to everything I talked about. If you go to any podcasting platform, you can just type in Celeste the Therapist and you'll find it. We're about to hit 100,000 downloads. I forgot to say that. We're at like 93,000 downloads. I started this less than 2 years ago and we're in over 120 countries. Like that's crazy to me. Like I'm like, every time I think about that, I'm just like, yo, oh yes. And rate me. Liz was actually the first person. Liz, thank you. I swear Liz always does this. She always reminds me of the stuff I be forgetting. If y'all listen to my podcast, if y'all can rate me, please, so I can push it up on the mental health charts. Yeah, just go to, it's only on iPhone you can do it. If you have an Android, you don't matter. You do matter, but your phone don't matter. You are studious. Yeah, so wherever you are, please leave a rating if you listen to me. You matter, Missy. Missy, you know you my girl. Stop it. Missy, you know you matter. Your phone may not matter, but you matter. Oh, that's good. I'm glad I made you laugh, Liz. So yeah, if you guys can hook a sister up and leave me a rating, because we are in, like, I did this from scratch on my own. Like people on Periscope, I came on Periscope and I told them, I said, I want to start a podcast. What y'all think? They was like, yeah, you should do it. And I was so scared. I'm like, I don't know who's going to listen to this. Like, how is this going to look? I didn't know how it was going to look. And it's looking like it's in 120 countries plus, and people are pressing download and people are sharing. So that is so amazing. When you get your national TV show, let your first guest be Dr. I'm trying to iPhone only have iPhone. If you have an iPhone, you can do it. iPhone only has it, yes. So yes, so I'm excited that we're about to hit 100,000 downloads. Like that's insane to me. It's like my consistency. Seriously, Black Irish, she says, don't forget about us. Like, seriously, you think I would forget about y'all? Come on, don't. That means you don't know me. For you to make that statement, I'm assuming that you don't know me. I'm not going to forget. So we're going to have to celebrate. We're going to have to celebrate once I hit 100,000 downloads. I don't know what we're going to do. But it's going to be online because that's going to happen next month. I'm averaging like 8,000 a month. So that's going to happen next month. So that's exciting. I'm not. All right. I'm going to go. Come back tomorrow, 8 p.m. You can always listen to recaps of like the guests that I have on my podcast. And I will talk to you guys later.
Every laugh, every smile, every hug, every kiss, every touch, every person in my life that I care about and love. But wait, maybe I'm getting too emotional. That's exactly what they say you ain't supposed to do. Suppress your feelings, never talk about your pain. Can't appreciate the sun without acknowledging it rains, right? That's right. So this a moment of clarity. And make sure you always protect your energy. You stay focused.